This is Pre-Initiate Lesson 3. And let's see, that is on page 188 of the Complete Book of Demonolatry. And this is about personal symbols of power and invocation and evocation and hierarchies. Again, I'm not going to go through and read it to you. You can read it yourself. But I am going to talk a little bit about some frequently asked questions about sigils and ends and invocation versus evocation this time around. So sigils and ends, where do they come from? A lot of people ask this question, and basically how they came about is you have a person practicing ascension, someone who is a medium, someone who can communicate with the spirits or the demons. And that person will go into an ascensive state, and they will communicate with the demonic through that state, and they usually come back with an N or a sigil. So this is how the N's and the sigils were gotten, and this means that it's something you can do as well. And a lot of times people will get variant sigils. So you'll get two people in different parts of the country who will work with the same demon, get two sigils, and sometimes you'll put them right next to each other, and they kind of look very similar, eerily similar a lot of the times. So even though they may have like just slightly different characteristics, or even, like the general shape will be the same, even though it'll have different embellishments. So that's something interesting to consider. I've actually tested this myself with friends, and it actually does hold true. So it's kind of interesting how that works. Let's see. But the point of this lesson is that you can, too, also go within yourself and find your own personal N and your own personal symbol of power is basically what this is doing, what this lesson is trying to teach you. Now, an N is basically, in alchemy, an N is something that is the essence of something, or it contains the essence of the formula that you're working on. So I believe that the term ends comes from that alchemical term ends, basically meaning that this is like a auditory embodiment of the demonic force that you're calling upon. And you're just drawing it into you or to you using that N. The same thing with the sigil. It basically is a pictorial, visual representation of that demonic force. So if you consider it that way, it doesn't appear as mysterious anymore. Now let's talk about invocation versus evocation. I'm not one to usually use the word summoning because I think summoning sounds too much like a master to a servant. The demons aren't our servants. We are kind of co-conspirators, so to speak. And in many cases, we are their students. We're not their servants. We are their students. And I suppose in a way we could say servants, but not in the sense that, groveling before them type servants. But the difference between invocation and evocation. Now, in ceremonial magic, evocation means to call from someplace else. Whereas in demonolatry, evocation is when you call something up through yourself, or you call something against its will. So you generally don't want to call demons through you unless you're very experienced and you know what you're doing. So evocation, and it's very disrespectful to use evocation or the whole summoning thing just by virtue of the meaning of the word. And at this point, yes, we really are mincing semantics here. It is what it is. So invocation, however, is to call from an external source, and it's to petition a deity or demonic force. Remember, the demon is divine intelligence, replete with wisdom. So technically, a demon is a deity in that sense, since deities are divine And we are too divine, so as above, so below again. So basically, that's why you'll find like a lot of ceremonial magicians have really bad experiences with demons because they're evoking them. And the terminology does really seem to matter because evocation does suggest that, you know, the magician thinks they're better than the demon or can control the demon in some way. And while you may be able to control the demon within, and in that sense, you know, that means the demon is part of your psyche and part of your personal makeup. And then of course and then invocation is just more respectful. And summoning is just like, yeah, okay, you know, it's, to me, just sounds too, you know, master servant. And magicians are certainly not the masters of divine intelligence necessarily, unless they're not just adept, but perhaps godlike. And none of us is like that. We're all students until the day we die. So, unless, of course, you know, there are some arrogant magicians out there who really do think that they, you know, control all things. But, you know, if you're the type of person who needs to kick your own ass to get to effect change in your life, then yeah, maybe evocation is for you. However, if you're not and you respect yourself and you respect the demonic, invocation is the way to go. And you're probably going to find that you're going to get a lot more favorable results a lot faster by being polite and respectful. So, again, it goes back to that old saying that you catch more flies with honey rather than vinegar. So we'll just go with that. And again, your homework for this time is to continue with your meditation and prayer exercises and to make your own sigil and create your own N. And then use it to, whenever you feel your power being taken from you, use those things to re-energize yourself and to basically evoke from within yourself the power and strength from within yourself to overcome any obstacle. So, of course, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments section so your instructor can get to you. And be sure to be reading the entire book. Don't just go through the pre-initiate lessons and that's it. There's a lot of information in this book that's going to answer, like, I'd say 95% of the questions beginners have are answered in this book. And if there are questions you have that aren't answered in the book, your teacher can help you there, or the person who's guiding you through your class. So the next video is lesson 4, and until then, I will see you later.